Good evening. The Toronto Raptors lose by 10 points to the Portland Trail Blazers. 128-118 overtime game. Jalen McDaniels in the overtime for the first 4 minutes. Very interesting lineup. It didn't seem like the strategy to win the game. So you get your ideal tank game, overtime, and you don't lose any standings in the pick the race for the pick, the race for like Reed Shepherd or something at this point. And you have Delano Banton going 5 for 8 from three. I believe 26 points, something like that. He was 25 points, yeah. 5 for 8 from three. I never really understood. We'll talk a little Delano Banton, I just think like out of all the random point guards they have, he probably has more upside than like JFL, like let's be honest. So I don't really know why they got rid of him. They're not incredibly deep at the point guard position. So and he looks his 3-pointer looks way more refined. Like his release point's way higher. It's quicker, it's way smoother. It used to be really like janky and almost like a chest pass with no arc. Like his jump shot used to be really, quite a sight, and now it's like really sped up, much better mechanics. So yeah, he like really burnt, and he started the game. He started over Scoot Henderson, which was kind of surprising. He was more effective than Scoot Henderson, that's for sure. Who played like pretty good game, but yeah, it was kind of your ideal tank game because it was pretty close for like the start of it was troubling. I mean, the Blazers go up 22-8, which is kind of a wild score. And it was mascot night in Portland, so you had all the mascots running around during the commercial breaks, just playing like soccer and stuff, which was random but cool. Blazers broadcast was really good tonight. They were talking about Canada basketball quite a bit. It's his name's Kevin Caballo. He used to be the voice of the Sonics. He's the Blazer voice now, so kind of close to Canada or whatever. But yeah, they were talking a lot about like the crowd, a lot of people going down to the game. So they were saying that if the Raptors get back in the game, the stadium will get really loud, and it did seem like there were some Raptor chants along with the Blazers chants. So that was kind of cool. Is anybody in the chat, were they at the game? Let me know. But yeah, maybe we should go to Portland here, because I think my Wi-Fi in the Himalayas is glitching out. But yeah, this was like a weird game because there's just a lot of injuries. Like the Raptors are missing 3 starters, the Blazers are missing half their team. Like no Jeremy Grant, no Shaedon Sharp, a few other guys too. I'm blanking out, but both teams were kind of riddled by injuries. So there were a lot of weird lineups. Some of the lineups with like McDaniels and Boucher kind of felt like a throwback to earlier in the year when those would be like the Scotty lineups, but you kind of need that out of necessity. I don't really know what happened with Jonte Porter. He just kind of, thought he was available, but I guess not, because like I don't really know what the McDaniels, like just McDaniels, you're randomly playing 25 minutes. Like you've been in the ice freezer for like 2 months, and now you're just getting popped into an overtime game. I guess like the 10, I don't know, I guess the 10 rebounds is kind of the only, that was just really weird to see. And then that lineup that they had in overtime did nothing. I don't think they even scored. I don't know if they scored a basket. I think it was 117, 113 when they took McDaniels out of the game at like 155, and I think they went into overtime 113, 113. So I could be wrong, but I believe they may have not scored in the first like 4 minutes of overtime with that lineup out there. And it was a bizarre lineup. Just the second I saw it, I was like, this is over. Like I thought I was looking at the wrong screen or something, or I could like lagged back to the second quarter, and it's like, oh no, Jalen McDaniels is playing in the overtime in the overtime game. So yeah, I think that's pretty. It's a pretty clear indication that I don't know if I think the pick is being thought of, and Portland's kind of one of those teams that you're. I don't know if you can catch them, but they're kind of one of those teams that's if you really really went wild, you could catch them. So I mean, maybe. I think mathematically you still could, but it kind of seemed that that lineup that they threw out there, and like you had other guys, like you had Grady you could have thrown out there. Like I thought Wara played a really good game, and then he just like didn't get put back in for some reason. Wara had 10 points in 12 minutes. 10 points in 12 minutes. McDaniels had 4 points in 25 minutes. I don't know if Wara got hurt or something, but he was looking really good. 4 for 6 from the field. It was really aggressive, really athletic finishes, really smooth. I mean, on defense, he's not amazing, but it's Portland. They don't really have, they don't have guys that are just going to like carve up mismatches and stuff. So I think you can kind of take the defense a little bit more liberally on some of the lineups. I don't really understand like the no Wara, the zero Porter, because McDaniels, you're kind of hoping for some size. And there were a lot of times where the Raptors just like didn't have enough size, so maybe that's why you could justify McDaniels. I don't know. I'm just trying to find a way that you could justify McDaniels, who I don't know, it's just kind of bizarre. I don't know. The way he kind of runs lineups is like kind of bizarre. I think it's kind of hard to predict. Not that you want to be predictable, but it's like I don't know. It's just it kind of started with like Thad at the beginning, where you're kind of just like in the freezer, and then they just like dust you off. But yeah, I mean this Portland team, like they're like the Raptors are really only in these games that are like that's why there's just no appetite for a plan. Like even if you look at the teams that they've like beaten or even been close to, it's like the Hornets, like it's like those levels of like the Blazers, and a Blazers team without a bunch of their guys as well. So I think at this point of the season, you're kind of just looking to see what you have, and you're kind of preparing for next year. But it was just kind of funny that McDaniels was out there because I don't know, maybe some 4D chess from Darko. Grady's looking his I think he did some one-legged squats in part of the training program because he's looking a lot better off of one leg. There was a pull-up shot where he kind of got off balance and he stayed, like his mechanics stayed the same, and even though he was off balance, like he didn't lose any of his alignment. And I remember earlier in the year him getting knocked over a little bit and the shot getting really influenced by that, so you can tell that he's gotten a lot stronger. And the nice thing about these last few games is you're getting some 30-minute I think he played like 30 something minutes last game. Tonight 39 minutes. So I mean only 8 points, but I like that he had 7 threes, 5 rebounds. But yeah, he's really not I think he has like the green light probably more. He plays really unselfishly, I find. Like he's turning down threes. Like there's a few plays where I think most guys in his situation, like, you're in a development team, you're a rookie, you're shooting 37, 38% from three. You're on a pretty good streak. I think a lot of players in his position would take those shots, but he's making the extra pass on a lot of them. I'm not saying that's a mistake, but I think with his archetype, he could definitely be a little bit more aggressive, like only taking 10 shots, and he only almost played 40 minutes. So I feel like I feel like Kelly Olynyk turned down some shots too. Like he was 3 for 4 tonight from three. And there was a play right at the end where he had a wide open corner three that he turned down, and the play just ended up like not working. They just made 3 or 4 more passes out of that, and then didn't get a good chance from that. Or they maybe got free throws. But I just felt like there was a few times where he was open, and he was like he was like a really good glue guy, like really unselfish. He had 7 assists, I think. He led the team in assists with 7, I believe. Or am I lying? Yeah, no, 8 assists. Yeah, he led the team with 8 assists, and 2 steals. He's the 5 turnovers, like the two. So I think one of the big stories for me in this game was like Quickley and Olynyk are kind of your 2 main facilitators, and they combined for 11 turnovers. That's a little wild. Against a Portland team that's not like defense is not the calling card. So when you've got your 2 main guys that are kind of running the show, 11 combined turnovers from just 2 of them, that's pretty tough. But it's kind of funny, like Grady actually ends up being a +1 in the game, the only starter in this game that was a plus. So I don't know if that, probably nothing, but kind of a fun little stat that sticks out when you look at the box score. But some cool stories at least from this game, namely with I guess there's a few, like you've got Gary. I mean, granted, this is the Portland Trailblazers without half their team, but Gary had a good game, kind of like. I mean, I don't know if Gary has ever taken 26 shots before in a game. That might be a career. Somebody look. Is it Trash Clips or Trash? Yeah, Trash Clips. You were like the Johnny on the spot with the stats last time. Can you look up what Gary's career high is for field goal attempts? Because 26 that's pretty legendary for him. 10 for 26. Didn't have the 3-ball going. 3 for 12 from 3. 12 threes also kind of on the higher end, but 26 that's got to be up there for him. Basically the number 1 option tonight against his former team. But the main kind of positive stories I thought were Boucher again, especially on that final play, just like sacrificing his body. He ends up being in the +2 as well tonight, as +3. He gets 8 rebounds, 16 points, 6 for 6 from the free throw line, like super aggressive. 4 for 5 from 3 or from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and the 2 threes like really hit, like they're really important parts of the game. And that's 2 games in a row where he's just like come in and like close the game for you. Again, Darko had him in the freezer. Now he's closing the end of the game. Although I don't know if Darko's trying to win. I mean, if you're a coach, like if you're Darko, for example, like your whole thing is development. Your whole, like, that was your brand coming in. And yeah, you've got like 14 picks in this coming draft. But I'm not saying I'm like half joking with this, but if I was in Darko's position, it's like you don't want, like, on one hand, because I believe if the pick goes for 2 years, it converts into 2 seconds. Like, you don't want that happening. I know the next year's draft, I think you like run the risk, I believe. Someone correct me, but I believe that's true. If it goes to 2026, it converts into 2 seconds. Especially like with where the team is at right now. If you're a playoff team, like, you don't really care. But the fact of like where you're at right now, it would be really nice to have a top 6 player that you could just like add to this thing that you're trying to build. So I don't think losing these games is like, throwing the whiskey bottle against the wall and being like, fuck, obviously you want to be competitive, you want to play hard, but maybe you throw McDaniels in there as a little bit of a oh shit, oops. Oopsies. Let me call a timeout with minute 55 and switch that up a little bit. Get Grady back in the game. Oops, I kind of forgot about that. I'm saying it could definitely happen. I would probably do something like that if I was a coach. Just like, oh yeah, I just kind of, wink wink, kind of forgot where I was or something. Just kind of blacked out there for a few minutes. Could someone look up that I don't believe they scored in overtime when he was on the floor? I could be wrong, but I believe it was one. I took a screenshot when it was 113 with 0 on the clock, and I believe when McDaniels came out of the game, it was 113. So Gary Trent Jr. had his most shot attempts in a game, trash clips here, against the Heat, January 2022 with 28 attempts. Okay, close. Almost got there. Breaking records, almost breaking records. Quickley almost breaks the assist record. Gary almost breaks his field goal attempt. That's where the season's at. You're getting excited for Gary breaking his all-time field goal attempt number. Hermes Curry Bro says McDonald's is the Tank Commander. My only other theory for why you play McDaniels is like you're in Portland, he's from Seattle. Maybe you're back in the Pacific Northwest, back in the New York groove, and there's some spiritual significance or something. You just feel the energy. Pacific Northwest got some pretty serious energy. So that's the only other reason I could think of. I mean, you do have a depleted roster, but you still have a roster. And I don't know what McDaniels has shown you. Mafia William Knight, McDaniels 3 shot attempts. I guess that's like the one thing you could give him credit for. I don't even know if that's credit though. Like that's like an interesting debate. Like, is it a good thing that it only takes 3, or is that bad? It's like do you want somebody playing 25 minutes to only take 3 shots? That's not really impacting. That doesn't really feel like much of an impact. But then do you want someone at the same time with such a low percentage taking those shots? It's kind of you're screwed either way type of thing. So, but that's what happens when you don't play well. It's kind of the result of that is you kind of leave your coach in these weird situations where it's like, are you really an advantage? Or yeah, his contract makes it more complicated too. I bet there's some, I don't know, not guarantees, but the fact that they have him for 2 years, which that's not looking great. Nolan Jacobson, I knew the Blazers had the mandate of heaven in OT when Quickley slipped on the inbounds play. Yeah, that was tough. Some slipping tonight. Delano slipped. There was a couple slips. Maybe the Mott people weren't. Vegan Grass. They scored 5 points after Jalen left the game with 2:10 left in OT. And they didn't score any before that, right? So. Hey. Yeah, I don't know. No matter how smart you are as a coach, if you're trying to win the game, that's I don't know. At least trash clips. Darko's challenge was awful too. No free throws on the line and not a guy in foul trouble. He could have saved it for that obvious out of bounds call. Yeah, that's the other thing with him too, where you kind of question like how much does he want to win these games, because he barely uses his challenges, and when he does use them, they're usually they're kind of like, oh, you're gonna do that, which is weird because obviously his most famous moment of his life is the rant against the referees. Ironically, he like never challenges them. Like when he like has the legal, Darko, you're not going to get fined 50 grand for challenging a call, but you will if you go to the podium and say that the games are fixed. But you are allowed to challenge the calls. Because I don't know, he doesn't seem. I think like you miss like Thick Luca. I don't know if people remember Thick Luca, but he was a guy on Nick's staff. He was the iPad guy. I don't know who the iPad guy is this year, but I think he needs to be investigated as well. He or she needs to be investigated as well, because they're the ones who are. You kind of look over. That's like I think become one of their main jobs is just being that quick. Like look at the iPad, bang bang. So I don't know who's manning the iPad this year, or if that has had any influence, but that should be under investigation. Because he's either not challenging at all, or challenging plays that don't really have a big consequence. When that was, let's talk about that play. So I'm watching, what game was it? Mavericks Heat, I think. I think it was Mavericks Heat. They stopped the game. I couldn't believe it. They stopped the game. It was like in the second quarter. They stopped the game to check if it was a 2 or a 3. No, it was the Laker game. It was Spencer Dinwiddie. It was the Lakers and somebody. They stopped the game to check if it was a 2 or a 3. Like, stopped the whole game to check that. Usually, the game keeps going. They make a little announcement. Whatever has been changed to, or whatever. Cool, great. They stopped the game for that. In this game, not that winning is that important at this point, but anyway, it's the NBA. It's a product, whatever, has customers. You probably want some consistency. In this game, you have a call where it was pretty obvious it went off Simons on the side. Even the Blazers broadcast is like, yeah, it's clearly off Simons. And the refs initially make the call the other way. And then they like deliberate. Darko doesn't have his challenge left. And they don't review it. They don't look at it. They don't stop the game. They just do a jump ball. Which I believe the Raptors won. So karmically it worked out. But just weird. I don't know. Not to go on an NBA ref rant, but yeah, kind of that was a strange. It's just like, well, we don't know like what the right call is, so we're just going to do a jump ball. And it's not like one of those things where we looked at the replay for an hour and we can't decide on something. So that was like, they stopped the game for like the dumbest reasons, but something that kind of important, they're like, oh yeah, whatever, just we'll just flip a coin. That was really weird. What are you guys' favorite areas of Portland? I'm a big Hawthorne Avenue fan. Went to a Lebanese restaurant there once. Good record shopping in Portland. Good vinyl scene. It's like 30 record stores. Most record stores per capita, I think, in the world is in Portland. Cool city. Often gets a bad rep in the news, but it's a cool city. And the broadcast for the Blazers is the same as the Sonics guy back in the day. And there's it's not Bally Sports. So good broadcast. It was mascot night, so I don't know if does Toronto have that mascot night, or like all the mascots from just all over the place just like show up and bounce around and jump around and play soccer during the commercial breaks and stuff. Like, it's kind of interesting. Really random. Had no idea what was going on, but could be an idea. Yeah. I guess like the funniest part of this game is Delano. Because whenever like a team trades you or gives up, like, I don't really know did we ever really get the story of what happened with Delano? I think people speculated. I think there was like, how sports, the sports media people, someone will get traded and then there'll be, an article. Well,
Right for Sportsnet, I like to, read a little article after the guy gets traded about a couple things that I know.
Guys like that who write write articles like the sec. I think there was some rumor. I don't know if it was him, but it was somebody, one of those people. Um, I think it implied that like him being in Toronto, maybe he wasn't focused enough. Like he was hanging out. I don't know what that implied. I don't know. I never heard any follow up. I never heard any concrete examples. I didn't hear anything of substance from that. All I remember hearing from, I think, more than one source was like, it's going to be good for him to get away from his, I don't know, Toronto. I don't know. And I don't know what that meant or where that narrative came from, but that was kind of the story. He goes to Boston. Weird team for him to go to. I mean, they're so deep. They're like, that always seemed like a weird fit. And then when he went to Portland, it's like, okay, that makes sense. I know it's like one, and he had 30 points the other game, but he was like 10 for 27. So that's kind of, I mean, he took more shots than Gary tonight. But tonight, yeah, against his former team, he kind of showed like the package a little bit, and it looks very improved and further along than a lot of the Raptors prospects. So yeah, I'll be interested to find out if that story ever comes out of like what happened with that, because again, with where the Raptors are as an organization, with the lack of point guard depth, it does seem weird to just give up on a guy who you drafted the same year as Scotty, who he was never great for you, but like Nick didn't really give him much of a run. Um, doesn't seem like that un-Darko-ish, doesn't seem like a guy who just completely doesn't fit. So I don't know. It's like a weird story. I don't think it's the end of the world, but it just doesn't really make sense. Because I think Delano has shown that upside. Like, I'm sorry, but like when has Malachi dropped back to back like 30-point games? Has he? Like it just, I don't know. Not to go too deep back into the past, but that one just kind of never made that much sense to me. Um. So yeah, the Raptors end up going to a zone because they're just getting killed by pretty much everywhere. The threes weren't going in, and Portland was just getting just the lack of size. Like no Jakob. Kelly's not really like a great rim protector. Neither is Jonte really, but he's I think a little bit better. But yeah, they were getting a lot of easy buckets at the rim. Raptors pretty poor transition defense. Pretty like disorganized on offense. I thought Quickley actually had a pretty rough first half. Like he seemed kind of rusty, kind of forcing it. A lot of his shots weren't going in, and then he just kind of completely flipped in the second half. Like his energy completely shifted, and he was yelling at. He was directing traffic a lot more. Like he was yelling at people to get out of the corner or go over to the corner. Like being a lot more authoritative. Really hyped up after making shots. And so he looked like completely different in the second half. But yeah, first half, kind of rough. Same with Olynyk too. I thought in the first half he was turning down a lot of open threes, and then second half got going quite a bit more. And one note I have here, like Gary had I guess a pretty good game, like not super efficient, but he scores for you. I just wonder if him in transition is like the what's the word? What's the fucking fulcrum? I'm trying to remember like grade 11 physics. What's the thing that makes the teeter-totter? I don't know. The fulcrum issue. I think for him, I kind of realized it tonight. Like his decision making in transition in a multitude of ways. Like not only his like layup package, like not only his decision making when he gets to the rim, but his decision making running the floor as well. Like he's not hitting guys in front of him. He's not making the go ahead pass. And a lot of the time, players like, I was going to say Zion for some reason, because I think the Raptors just played the Pelicans, but it makes sense if you're like a star player and you attract a lot of gravitas. um, like with Gary, like finishing isn't his strength. So for him to be like not making those go ahead passes, not making those hit ahead passes, combined with the lower efficiency on those finishes, it's like it's different than say someone if Zion was really selfish and Zion's like I'm just gonna take it myself. It's like, oh yeah, you're finishing like 180% of the rim. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But with Gary, you're kind of getting dinged twice because like you're not making the go ahead pass, and then you're also taking a lower percent shot because his percentages are just lower than if he would be making like the hit ahead pass to. I mean, maybe not with Abaji. His touch continues to be tough, but these go ahead passes have a higher percentage of turning into a bucket than him taking a semi contested, transition shot from 3 feet away. It's just not really his strength. So I kind of wonder, like, the Raptors kind of hit me tonight. Like the Raptors are like number 1 in transition points, number 2 in assists. Does Gary being so like, I don't know what it is with him, but like transitionally just, it turns into like a different sport or something. Like he'll hit transition 3 sometimes, but anything going downhill in transition, it just like the basketball court turns into like a soccer field or like an ice rink. Ice rink is a better one. It's just like, it's really bizarre. So I do wonder if that's because I think people are really trying to estimate like where, like Olynyk just got it's kind of like remember with Precious, like people didn't really know what they thought of him or whatever. Kind of like that with Gary now. Like Olynyk just gets the extension. Gary's in this weird spot where like, and then Quickley is probably going to get, I mean, obviously you're going to get the offer for like the extension. It's just like Gary seems to be kind of the mystery at this point. So I do wonder if that's maybe the swing kind of fulcrum issue is he just like really in transition doesn't fit what they're doing other than the threes. But when so much of your bread and butter is transition, for every one transition 3 you're probably getting 2 or 3 missed outlet passes, missed opportunities, so it's, yeah, I don't know. It's tough for him. It's really tough for him in transition. But also Quickley, I mean, I don't blame this on anybody really. Like I don't think Quickley and Boucher have like played together. So they had like 2 or 3 plays where just like complete negative chemistry. But I don't know if they've ever been on the floor together. So I can't really be mad at that. Raps actually ended the third quarter on an 11-2 run. Gary and Quickley hit back-to-back threes, and then it kind of slowly in the fourth quarter is like turning into a game. Blazers doing a good job walling off Quickley's drives, but he just got really aggressive, did the too small to scoot, was talking trash, and so the Raptors went on an 11-2 run at the end of the third, and then they ended up going on a 9-0 run at the start of the fourth. So, that's like almost like a 20-2 run to get them back into the game. And that's when Grady hit the really off-balance pull-up, really showed like the single leg strength for him, which is big, especially with movement shooting. You're going to be off balance a lot of the time. So having that single leg strength is really important. You could see that he was falling away and was still able to keep his mechanics going. Then Gary had 2 back-to-back threes, just toilet bowl. Like it was brutal. I mean, obviously if one of those go in, it's completely different. And I thought down the stretch, Olynyk was really being like a glue guy. The Portland broadcast kept mentioning it, how like Kelly will make a pass, and then one of the reasons he gets so many assists is like he makes a pass and then he immediately goes for the screen and like he does like a little bit extra to make sure that after he passes it to you, players have him, help defenders have a harder time kind of getting to you. So he kind of has a higher assist rate because of that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. gonna look out for that a little bit more. Obviously, his size and IQ allow him to do that. So yeah, he leads the Raptors with 8 assists tonight. Again, him and Quickley combining for 11 turnovers is kind of wild, especially against Portland. But these are some pretty weird lineups. There's just going to be weird passes, communication. Like Quickley and Boucher might have had 2 or 3 turnovers together where they just like don't know, like, are you popping? Are you cutting? Are you rolling? Like, what are you doing? Yeah, I don't know. Portland's a cool city. Go visit sometime. Who are the Raptors as an EPL team? Anybody in the chat want to tell me? I'm getting into the EPL. I'm trying to find a team. I want to just find a random EPL team and just devote my life to it blindly and just get into the history and stuff. I have a couple hunches, teams that like I want to believe in, but there's certain things that like stop me. You know, it's like Arsenal. You can't just jump in right now, I don't think. Everton, they might get relegated. So that's like it's like too far. It's like, yeah, I don't want to just jump on a team that's really hot, but then I don't want a team that's completely has no future. But I got to pick one day and just turn my entire personality into like the history and get the scarves with the tassels and stuff. But who are the Raptors as an EPL team? Be like Crystal Palace or something. I don't know. I'm just learning the teams right now. Aiden Fam, why so many Raptor fans in Portland? Have you seen a map of the United States of America? Portland is relatively close to the country that the Raptors play in. So, like, for me, it's without a doubt the closest destination. And there's other people who live near me. So, I don't know if that's straight down the I-5. We could go to Cannon Beach. You guys ever been to Cannon Beach? It was one of my favorite places to go as a kid. It's an hour and 15-minute drive from Portland, and it's just it was just always my favorite. I think we ever we'd camp near the beach, but god damn this don't go to the Yukon. Don't buy this Razer cell phone. We're at the point of the show where I just get mad at my streaming software, and don't worry, next year we'll really get rolling here. But now we're in Cannon Beach, Oregon. So this is like an hour from Portland. This is just a great spot. The whole Oregon coast is pretty mint, but this spot just kind of stands out. It's just like, it's the most memorable. Like when you think back, we used to drive every summer when I was a kid. We'd drive down the coast through Oregon. Like you drive down the I-5, you'd hit Portland, and then you'd go west, basically hit like Cannon Beach, Tillamook, Astoria, which is where Kindergarten Cop was filmed. It's a little bit further down. So yeah, that's why there's so many Raptor fans in Portland. It's kind of like when you go to a Mariners game in Seattle, there's so many Blue Jays fans, because Seattle, you can get down there in 2-3, depending on the border is the big wild card. But yeah, this is like this big ass rock behind me. It's cool. This is a great spot. And the nice thing about the Oregon beaches is like, this is like one of the busier beaches, and it's not that busy. but just like very wide open, very windy, very wide open. Good vibes. So if that answers, does that answer your question? Mafia will unite. Darko's stupidest challenge. Yes. But yeah. I guess it really is 2 games in a row from Quickley. That's a nice run. You kind of wanted, I think, somebody with Scotty going out to take more of the kind of driving the car type role. And I think now that's 3. He's done that, I think, 3 games in a row. I think 3 games ago, or maybe maybe there was that one. I think the Pelicans game was just a write off. But I think 3 of the last 4 games he's kind of down the stretch, not necessarily taken over the game. That's kind of I feel like that's a really, to take over the game is like, that's like Anthony Edwards the other night, or like SGA or Luka. Taking over the game is kind of, that's a big term, I think. But like driving the car, and 3 games ago it was free throws. Like he hit 6 or 8 free throws in a row down the stretch and got those off of drives, was really composed, had the ball in all the possessions. Last game he gets 18 assists and almost gets a triple-double. And then tonight, big scoring threat, assist numbers, not, you're not going to average 18 assists, but still gets you 7 assists tonight, 29 points. And I mean, 10 for 21 isn't amazing, but you like the 4 for 10 from 3. He was aggressive from 3. Hit some big shots down the stretch too. Like, I think of his 29 points, probably at least, I think 12 of them were from the fourth quarter. So you like seeing that, kind of taking the reins from Scotty as much as someone could possibly do that. Impossible task. But yeah, I'm gonna go for a swim here in Oregon with all the Canadian. It's like when you go to Mexico too. It's like there's all these fucking Canadian people. If you go to the east side of Mexico, you'll meet people from Toronto. If you go to the west side of Mexico, you'll meet people from BC. So that's also an additional research / resource to your question about why there's so many Canadian fans in Portland. I'll extend to you that the beach towns in Mexico on the west side have a lot of BC and California residents, whereas the east side, you're going to get a lot of New York, Toronto. A lot of people from New York on the east coast of Mexico. Cancun's a good airport to like operate through. It's really central to everything. Millions of flights. There's smaller towns around it where you can stay. You can stay in Cancun. Like, I would just get an Airbnb for like $25 a night, like in the town of Cancun. Get like real tacos. Don't go to the hotels. But we're in Oregon right now, so that's all that matters. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Raptors lose, and I'm an EPL fan now though, so there's a big game tomorrow apparently, and the Raptors do not play tomorrow. Oh, guess who the Raptors? Nice, easy game for the Raptors coming up here. They play the Denver Nuggets in Denver, so you get the little altitude, 5820 feet above sea level. So 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, you know that team. You've heard of that team before. Never been to Denver. Never been to Colorado, actually, which is strange. Been to a few states that border Colorado, but haven't been there. Maybe I'll